understand that you're active in the drama club, the a cappella choir. You're a Boy Scout.
Eagle Scout, actually.
Eagle Scout, whoa! I never knew that. I know it was a scout. And you hope to study physics and engineering at the College of Worcester. Fine school. We're going to ask one question of each of you before you read your program, your essay. Because we kind of want to know how you think.
Okay.
You'll walk around with a flashlight inside your brain and find out. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would that be and why?
I had the opportunity a few summers ago to travel to Australia with the people-to-people student ambassadors. On that trip, I got to go to Sydney, Australia, and hands down, if I could live in any city in the entire world, it would be Sydney, Australia. And that's because that city is so cultured, and it's a beautiful, beautiful city. And the people there are the nicest people I've met in any major city in the entire world. They're always coming up and asking if you needed help, or it was just gorgeous. And so I'd love to live there.
Cleveland's not all bad.
I love Cleveland too.
You're on.
Hey, screw you, woman. Go make me a sandwich. This has disgustingly become the mindset of even the most talented, bright men. As I walk through the hallways of my school, I witness the most belligerent discrimination of young women by, surprisingly, the nice boys. Honor students who have become so ill-mannered in their intelligence that they find themselves above common decency and respect. The combination of media influences, sports addictions, and peer pressure has turned my generation into a horde of ignorance, driven by some misplaced sense of superiority over their classmates. Women gained the right to vote 80 years ago, and still day after day, they are disregarded, underpaid, underrepresented, and made fun of by men. And yet, these are trivial annoyances compared to the daily suffering women outside of the US and other democratic countries face. Places like Saudi Arabia, where women are born without a proper birth certificate or any record of their existence, hidden behind their abaya and ruled with brutal efficiency under a government that combines church and state, law and sin. Or in the unruly tribes of Afghanistan, where women are forced to endure unbelievable agony in genital mutilation, followed by unhappy arranged marriages. Or in Africa, where women are raped on a daily basis, and young impregnation and childbirth is followed by horrifying fistulas, whereupon a woman is usually shunned by her own family and left to die. As one of 4 boys in my women's studies class, I have become blatantly aware of both the apparent distaste of women in my school and the misery of women around the world. The fact that there are only 4 boys in the class in and of itself suggests a lack of interest of the expansion of awareness by my male classmates. My stomach churns every time I enter the classroom. But yet, I know the more I become aware of this suffering, the more powerful behind my passion behind wanting to change it will become. This knowledge has become my power, my sword of understanding to cut through the haze of unawareness that envelops the teens that surround me. My women's studies class and I have rallied to the means to complete several fundraisers for the Fistula Foundation, an organization which houses, heals, and cures women with such an affliction in several countries in Africa, free of charge. I designed a t-shirt to sell that simply states, "Beautiful," encouraging women to make a stand for their own justice and to promote female empowerment. I still have a daunting task ahead of me. I have to change the mentality of my fellow man to that of honesty and understanding through volunteering and daily actions, to assist women in places of need where they cannot so easily help themselves, and, as feminist author Eve Ensler says, to find freedom, aliveness, and power, not from what contains, locates, and protects us, but from what dissolves, reveals, and expands us. Thank you.
Elliot Richard Wainwright is a student at Elyria High School.
Now, Elliot, I understand that your inspiration for your speech was your women's studies class. What have you learned outside of what we've probably seen in the speech that really touched you? Do you think one story or one instance of...
Outside of the class?
Yes.
Well, some of my closest friends I found to be the worst when it came to the topic. So just being around them a lot has really exposed me to things that it just bothers me every time I'm with them. So I've got a lot of exposure to this discrimination. It's not a, you know, it's an everyday thing, is what I'm trying to say. So it's not something that I have to be in class to be exposed to. So.
Now, are you taking it upon yourself to maybe speak with students when they're saying, you know, derogatory things towards other classmates?
I have before, and I never participate in it. That's it. Right now, I'm kind of in the stage where I just sit back and watch and shake my head. But after this entire Stop Hate experience, I'm definitely going to start stepping in when I think that something's wrong.
So what has this experience taught you?
Well, it's taught me that I'm not alone. There are other people who are willing to do good things. It's really humbling just to be a part of this entire experience. You know, I'm one of 10 of 26, and then, you know, of the 700 11th and 12th graders that submitted essays. And those are just people who submitted the essays. There's, you know, hundreds of thousands of people who are out there thinking the exact same thing that we are. So it's humbling, and it makes me I'm not afraid anymore to say what I want to say. I've noticed that about, you know, anyone who's changed history. They weren't afraid to say what they needed to say.
Now, finally, just one last question: if you could speak to your fellow Elyria High students and kind of impart a little wisdom in them that you've learned from this entire experience, what would those words be?
Well, it's hard because the same thing that I say to one person won't have the same impact on another person. So I guess to make a general statement is really hard. But generally I would just say, just think before you speak. Just because the initial response from what you say is not necessarily felt to you, but after they walk away, the person might hurt them seriously. So just go back and look at what you do, and it's all about self-analyzing. You want to be able to just go back to your roots as a good person, you know. You don't have to succumb to the peer pressure of your classmates just because they're doing it. Doesn't mean you have to do whatever hateful act they're doing. So.
Now, I have one final question. Now, I know that there's been some talk of bullying at your school. Do you feel as if bullying is being addressed at the school, or?
Well, bullying is definitely being addressed, but I also think that it's blown way out of proportion at the school. It's a rough and tough school, but there's not everyday physical acts of violence against people, and if there was, I didn't go through any of it, and I was a pretty small wimpy freshman, so I don't want to say that there is. It is being brought to people's attention at the school, and I would say that there are a few organizations like Team Street something or other is like, you know, working to protect against domestic violence in the school, or you know, abusive relationships, or just everyday bullying. So it's being addressed, but I also think it's blown out of proportion how bad it is at Elyria High. Because there are so many good people at Elyria High. I mean, you know, it's not all It's not all rough and tough.